6:52. Let's get right to it and get Superintendent John Fernandez from the Guam Department of Education on to the show. Good morning, John.
Hey, Aflague, Sabrina.
Good morning.
Maybe you could just give us the sit rep on the food distribution. This morning we got the message from the Adelup press secretary that before the giveaway even opened, they had already maxed out the number of recipients.
Yeah. We encountered. Sorry, getting some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on Friday we ran into this situation down in PD with all this traffic going way back into Assen and Nimitz. More cars than we had ever had to deal with in our experience. So obviously there's a deep-seated demand for food support throughout the community, and we're seeing it show up at our front doors. And so I had the team, get together and figure out who we could look to for assistance in trying to open multiple sites. So of course, that's hard to do on a dime. So we did get the assistance of DPW. I think they have about 40 personnel dedicated to helping us. And this is really, has to do with unpacking commodities, reassembling them, bagging them, loading them, transporting, and then distributing them. And this week, we weren't able to turn it around for today, so we were able to get a new location, but not enough to run two different sites. And today we saw the crowds line up. I heard as early as 5 a.m.
I heard earlier than that.
Yeah.
We had a comment. A lady said she was able to make it through, but only after lining up 3 hours prior to it opening.
Wow. So I know we know definitely that we were hearing some noise between 4:30 and 5. And of course, we've been working with GPD to try to ensure that we try to address the traffic issues. Obviously, we can absorb many more vehicles on the Teton site so that they're not flooding out into the main route. But what GPD did was to count, try to do a count on an estimate on the cars, and then cut the line where the commodities would run out. So that's what happened to try to alleviate the traffic issues, and then we just wanted to run the operation and see how it went today. I mean, for making a shift to another location and running it in a totally different way, I'd say it was successful. It's just the issue seems to be that we can anticipate that continued demand in the community. So on Friday, we were able to work with DPW to map out and staff up 2 sites. So we'll be operating in Peredo at the farmers market, as well as at the Teton baseball field, and then we're looking for a southern site that we can stand up so that we can have 3 sites in the north, central, and southern part of the island.
How many food boxes and bags did you guys distribute last week?
Last week, I think it was about 1,500 to 2,000 bags, and then today the goal was 2,000, and I believe 2,000 at each site on Friday.
Wow.
Now, this is in addition to, we are working closely. I think you might have heard Pacific United, Unlimited. With Mike Luciaco and his group. They want a separate contract with USDA, but they're working hand in hand with us to try to, maximize the distribution. They're bringing in about 6,500 boxes of fruit per week, and then I think per month, 4,000 boxes. These are 10-pound boxes of frozen meat and frozen cheese. So we're trying to factor that into the planning going forward, and then we anticipate more commodities coming in as part of the federal relief programs over the next few weeks and months. So this is not just a week. This week is going to be a situation that we have to plan out for and try to staff up. For the next several months.
John?
So for the next several months. And do you have to reapply every so often?
No, not for us. I mean, I think Mike's group is that came through a contract and bidding process. For us, GDOE happens to be the state agency for the distribution of food, of these emergency food commodities, which is kind of you think that someone like another agency would be more appropriate for doing this, but it happens to be the responsibility we've had for many years. And in this situation, you can see how it's being impacted by disaster and by crisis. So what I understand the federal government is doing is buying up a lot of the excess produce and from the farmers, and buying up extra supply of commodities and so forth.
Right.
And then they are pushing them through the distribution channels to the state agencies.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about this morning, John, was that CARES Act funding. The guidance allows for mass feedings and food assistance. So obviously, you guys are doing with the commodities, but I mean, God, it just doesn't seem like it's enough. So we're wondering, when do we start buying up food or using that mountain of federal money to try and get more food into the hands of people who need it?
Well, what we're hoping to do is, again, expand the distribution, knowing that we anticipate more commodities will come in. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's really important to get a handle on just how deep and how broad this need is. And we're seeing it. We're seeing the families, we're seeing the cars. I know the governor and lieutenant governor were able to stop by this morning, and I'm glad they did. Obviously, DPW coming to help, and GPD's assistance was very welcome.
Right.
And we are discussing right now the potential activation of the Guard.
Okay.
So hopefully, with those efforts underway, we can deal with the situation now and have a better system for distributing the commodities, and then getting a handle on just what this need looks like out in the community.
Right. And John, so Friday, when the pictures of the lines, I mean, going all the way to Aston from PD, and then all throughout the other roads, like you said, when these pictures started circulating, you saw or at least I saw over the weekend, we had your oversight chair writing a letter to the governor saying, hey, where's the Guard on this? Hey, da-da-da-da. And now, come the first giveaway of the week, we get a text from Adelup giving us the info that, hey, we're turning away people, we ran out of food. So how did the evolution go from this being a GDOE on Friday to now we have the involvement of, different partners, I guess you call them?
Right. Well, I think part of it is, I just think that we just have to realize this is a community issue. It's not a DOE issue. It's not a village. It's not PD and whether PD can improve its traffic flow. It's really a broad issue that we have to deal with during this critical time where the economy is underwater and we're trying to and families are just trying to survive and get by and get through with all the assistance that we hope is coming. So, we've been handling the school meals and trying to make sure that we're trying to make it as the least disruptive as possible, working with the mayors and working with the police. When we decided to open the PD shop up, it's really when Mike approached us and said, we have all this produce coming, and I said, that's great to get it out there, but we can't overload the school sites. So why don't we go ahead and open PD? And normally when we open the PD warehouse, we do encounter some traffic issues, but it's really in that nearby area. So, reaching out to Mayor Aflague and reaching out to GPD and DPW for assistance around that area, we would be the norm. And so we reached out to them to just kind of work out the site. But to see that the lines extended way into Aston and Nimitz Hill, that really wasn't, anticipated. Only because, we do have regulars who take advantage of the food assistance, but it just hasn't been, at this magnitude. So realizing that, that in addition to what the lines are seeing at the school meal sites, I reached out to the Lieutenant Governor and said, we really need to kind of think through a comprehensive food support plan, and I'm going to need help. My team's saying we need manpower. We don't need help planning it. We don't need help, receiving the food. The food's coming in, but who's going to, unload it? Who's going to bag it? Who's going to get it loaded and transported, distributed? I mean, we can't run multiple sites with the current capacity. So I know the Lieutenant Governor volunteered the DPW to help with immediate assistance. So Jess Garcia, I know Don Munoz has also been a part of that, have been kind of helping to mobilize immediate support. But I think we wanted to see how this week went before we ramped up and to see.
Don Munoz or Dom Munoz?
Dom.
Oh, from the port.
Right, from the port. I think the Lieutenant Governor has asked, where can we get the additional manpower immediately to see and help plan this out. And then I think with that, we discussed, I know the Vice Speaker at our budget hearing, on Friday, we were hearing the aftermath of the morning distribution. So senators were asking about the plans, and I, informed them. And I know the Vice Speaker Nelson called me over the weekend and suggested that the Guard be used just because of their expertise in logistics and so forth. So I did raise that issue, Lieutenant Governor, and it is something that's in the planning, it's in the works, and hopefully we can see if we can activate that support soon.
Yeah, there's a whole process because I was reached out to the Guard over the weekend for requests for assistance, and they sent me a flow chart. That's pretty interesting. So I just thought, why aren't they out there helping? But there's a whole process where you got to put in a request or whatever.
Right. So again, like I said, it's what the noise that we hear a lot, when we have these operations running is the traffic, the inconvenience that's happening because the cars are lined up and so forth. And I want to really shift the attention to, it's not necessarily about the operations. We can always improve operations, but the fact that you've got 1,000 cars lined up at 5 a.m. in the morning to get food support, I mean, that's the real issue. And so
it is, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did welcome the governor and lieutenant governor there, to come down and see what's happening with the families that are lined up. I think that's really where we're going to get a real handle on what the need looks like out there, and get a feel about the sense of urgency we need to move with.
Maybe that's going to be their next commercial, as the governor handing out food bags at the. John, do you have any idea how many people were turned away though? Because the comments are kind of blowing up about it. So.
Yeah, like I said, the demand is great. So I don't know how many people were turned away because it happened very early in the morning, and GPD was at the point of decision making there. But again, we understand that if we saw all those cars lined up on Friday and we saw similar issues today, we can expect to see a crowd. Hopefully, it's not as much, but I'm anticipating. Always prepare for the worst, which is to see much longer lines than we have bags to accommodate.
Right.
Hopefully that's not the case. We hate to turn anybody away, from a food line. That's just really not ideal. I mean, we definitely would, don't want to be in that situation. But right now we're just kind of limited by the capacity we have to push this food out, and we'll be better on Friday. We have 2 sites open, and hopefully that'll give us a better handle on the northern need and the central need, and then we'll be working on a southern site soon.
Okay.
All right, let's talk graduation. I know that you had actually broke that on this show. I think the last time we had spoke, you said that you put it out, and they had the response. You put it out, say, "Hey, what are we going to do?" And the response was, "What are you calling it? Grad-N-Go or something?"
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was calling it Grab and Graduate, but the team, I guess the principals like the Grad-N-Go, which that's a good. It's another.
It's not bad. It's not a bad idea. I mean, yours was pretty cool, but.
I just envisioned them just grabbing their diploma, and heading
Mm-hmm.
out. But Grad-N-Go is a different connotation, but same feel. So.
Right. So how's this going to work, and when are we going to see the plans for this?
Like our high school graduates they're of course they were looking forward to the culmination of their years in high school, the big celebration recognizing their accomplishments, and I just want to let everybody know out there that we feel the same way. I mean, this is kind of it's busy time of year, but the fun part of the year is getting out there, awarding the diplomas, watching the different schools celebrate in their own different way, seeing the best and brightest, our Valleys and Sallies, our those who win the awards, those who are headed to GCC and UOG right after, who got their plans sorted out. So it's a really good time normally in the school year to celebrate and wrap up the school year. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that, and so what we did is we just let everybody know that Plan A wasn't going to work, and we wanted to allow them some time earlier this month or last month to start planning for Plan B. So that Plan B happens to be for all the schools, basically doing a drive-through type of Grad-N-Go operation where they facilitate the graduates coming up in cars, going up to a stage, exiting their vehicle to get their diploma and to get a picture, and then they will exit in that vehicle and exit the campus. So that seems to be the plan for every one of our high schools and also for JP Torres Success Academy. Most of the schools, I believe, except for one, will do live stream. The other one, I think Okudu will do a video that they will distribute later. But all of that is being arranged and worked through so that we can put it out on DOE social media. So we did put out a schedule. We're telling everybody just kind of, just be flexible and let's celebrate in different ways. But my favorite, alternate ceremony that I was able to catch for one of the students is they held their own family graduation. And what I thought was great was they had someone substitute both for the governor and the superintendent. And the substitute had a lot of hair, which I appreciated.
So it wasn't an accurate depiction.
But I appreciated that little, having someone stand in for the superintendent and just celebrate in their own way, the graduation of their students. So that was nice to see. But, we're all going to have to do it in our own way this year. It's a strange year. It's a different year. But we're going to have to adjust, and that's what we want to teach our kids. Be able to move forward, keep moving forward, no matter what life puts in front of you, no matter what those challenges are. Yeah, we can complain and we can be sad about it, but at the end of the day, we want to make it productive and positive, and so we got to keep moving forward and find ways to make things happen.
Where are we, John, with the conversation for the upcoming school year?
Well, we're in the middle of it, and boy, it is quite a task. I'm very confident in the team we have assembled and all the players on that team, from the administrators, the staff, the divisions, the leadership team, and those who've inputted. We have student and parent input so far. I'm very confident because all the things that we're discussing. Every time I look to the mainland or to another country and kind of look through the issues they're challenged with, we're all dealing with it. We're dealing with the same ways, and we've got it on our radar. There's nothing we're missing. It's just a matter of adapting, these situations to fit our needs here on island. So, we're thinking through, the safety part first. What is it going to take to meet the minimum requirements, in our estimation, the minimum requirements to be able to open any of our facilities? So this year will be different. It's not just about getting your school facilities up to code, making sure they're clean and making sure that things are fixed. Now we're talking about protective equipment, things either being installed, supplies being provided to our nurses, enough masks and cleaning supplies to go around for teachers, for students, looking at making sure we get those in before we declare ourselves ready to open. The second issue is really evaluating the impact of social distancing. So with social distancing, if you can't get more than, let's say our typical class is 25, 30 students, and you can only fit 10, students into the classroom, under those guidelines. Now we're talking about, alternate schedules. What does that look like in terms of students able to go to class face-to-face, versus having to rely on distance learning? That'll be probably the toughest part, in my estimation, is trying to figure out how to run a hybrid, face-to-face and distance learning, education system. Not because we can't handle it at the school. I think we can handle it, and we come up with great ideas regarding how we, do distance learning remotely, online, through PBS and all of that. The hardest part, I think, is going to be the parents, and that's really what concerns me. As a parent, how is it going to impact my household? How is it going to impact my employment situation? Am I going to have to stay home and watch my kids who aren't able to go to school every day or all day? How do I facilitate teaching at home? How am I going to learn and keep up with my kids' work? And if I have multiple children in the household, it just, that multiplies. So that's my biggest concern for the team, is really understanding and thinking through the perspective of the students and the parents as they enter this new environment. Because I think our administrators, our teachers and staff, with all the experience they have, they can adjust. Mm-hmm. But we're really talking about our customers, our parents and our kids who have to adjust to this new system and not just go through the motions. We want to make sure our kids are learning. So that's the biggest challenge ahead of us.
Do you have like a targeted date when final decisions are going to be made?
Yes. As tough as this situation is, we've set a deadline for having all of these decisions as much as possible, right? Because we're not the only ones making decisions that will impact the start of school, and we have the governor declaring, PCOR 3, which would be the first condition to allow us to reopen. So there are things that may not be in our control with regard to the health situation, but we're planning to put in place our plans and finalize those plans and recommendations by the end of June.
Okay.
And the reason why we want to do that is we want to, again, it's going to accelerate our work. We need the board to meet a couple of times then during June so they can make some of the policy decisions that we need. And then we want to have some time to communicate, all these plans to our parents, our families out there. So we don't want to just, agree to it, one day and open up the next week. We're going to have to spend some time really helping the whole community anticipate, envision what it's going to look like, and start to make the adjustments. We had a conversation earlier, and there was some comment that we want to make sure our parents are are going to be okay and are going to be satisfied with the plan. And I just have to set the goal more appropriately, which is we're not likely to have a plan that everybody is going to be happy about. This is a different year. Everyone's going to have to sacrifice and adjust. So that can't be the goal that everyone's going to be happy with. At the end of the day, the goal ought to be that we're transparent, that we're communicating to our stakeholders as much as possible, so that people can begin to plan and make the adjustments much earlier than if we were to spring this on them last minute. Right. So if we can bring everybody through that conversation, then by the time we do open that first facility, people feel more comfortable about the plan, they feel more assured about the safety precautions that we're taking, and they can understand how their lives are going to be impacted and make those adjustments accordingly. So it's not going to be easy, but that's the only way I can see us moving together to get it done.
John, what about those parents who are just not comfortable, P-Core 3 or whatever, with sending their kids to school?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think at the end of the day, we are kind of along the leadership team. We did this probably over the last several days. We had a conversation about how many students would you guess might not show up on day one. And my guess was, given today's circumstances, my guess would be out of a class of 25, you could anticipate that at least 5 might be absent that day, just due to concerns about the safety.
Right.
Could be higher. I mean, just depends on the circumstances. But that's 20%, right? So if you can imagine 20% of kids not feeling comfortable. Could be higher if the situation worsens. And the only way we're going to get it lower is not simply to put a plan in place, but really to provide that assurance and that communication so that it's not just safe, but that people feel that safe, feel safe, feel that confidence that the people at the school are going to be able to take care of their children. So that's the extra effort we have to put into this.
Jana, we also had a question in the comments here. What happens to, and I guess these would be like non-appropriated funds raised for senior classes and such?
So we've communicated the rules to our school administrators and to the classes. Hopefully, we'll make sure of that. But really, what has to happen when it's not appropriated funds? These are the funds that are raised by clubs and definitely by the senior class. They've raised funds for graduation, but now we're not doing the traditional ceremonies. So it's kind of changed their plans. With regard to the non-appropriated funds, and we ran this through our internal auditor to make sure we had the proper guidance. What's very key is that the club or the organization or the class take an active role in determining the use of the funds that they worked hard to raise. So we're not letting teachers or administrators just automatically decide, hey, this is what we're going to do with those leftover funds. We want the students to have a role. And then, of course, we set a deadline for the students, whether they do it virtually or however they want to communicate, kind of determine how they want to use those funds. So I think a lot of the classes are focused first on let's get this graduation ceremony worked out and figure out how much that's going to cost. And then we'll know how much is left over, and then we can figure out what to do with those funds. So I think, by the time we hit midsummer, those decisions will be made with the leftover funds. And I think students have asked whether we can donate it to a good cause, a charitable organization. Can we put together senior gifts? There are a whole bunch of ideas that make sense. And then there are some ideas about, can we save this and come back in 6 months and do a reunion or some kind of gathering. Those are more difficult to get done because you start to lose students. They're off island. They're going to college. There's no organization at the school to keep this going. So I've communicated those kinds of things are going to be less realistic.
Can you give us an update on the $54 million in I think federal money provided to GDOE?
Right. So earlier it was Memorial Day. It was a Monday. So it was a holiday, but given the shutdown and the quarantine situation, nobody really feels any differently sometimes, other than making sure to memorialize our soldiers who've given their lives. But on the other hand, the team also was working hard that day, and they submitted the preliminary application for at least DOE's side, which is the $41.5 million, and the 3 priorities were again distance learning, using the funds to support the health and safety needs, the supplies and equipment needed, so face masks, nursing supplies, cleaning supplies. And then the third was to support our mental health outreach and strategies for students and employees. So we submitted that paperwork, and we're going to be awaiting hopefully a quick turnaround. They said to target that it's probably on a 72-hour turnaround if everything is submitted. So we'll wait to hear from them within that time frame.
Mm-hmm. So that $41 million, is there a breakdown of how much would go to non-public schools, or it's all lumped in together?
I don't have the exact numbers to the dollar, but it's around 31 million, 31 and a half, I believe, is to the DOE traditional schools, and then the remainder would be allocated to the nonprofit private schools, including Catholic schools and the other private schools around the island and the charters. Mm-hmm. And that allocation is, the whole allocation is basically done based on enrollment, on the official enrollment from last September.
Mm-hmm. And you said distance learning, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about like laptops, iPads,
Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we have about I would say about 7,000 laptops, right in the pipeline to be ordered and brought in. And then, we were planning for more. We're talking about some of the retrofitting of classrooms to ensure they're able to accommodate the technology, strengthening internet access. I think our goal is to try to shore up our schools as basically as community hubs for internet access, including Wi-Fi. So that's in the plans for trying to expand our ability to address distance learning online. We also want to use some of those funds to prepare hard copy materials as well, because as you know, we're not going to solve the internet access issue overnight. So as part of the phased-in plan, we still envision that there will be hard copy materials that will need to go out. So we want to use some of those funds to purchase some of those workbooks and so forth to help our students, either who don't have access or just to complement their learning by giving them things that they can bring home and complete and turn in. So that's really the gist of it. I mean, again, a lot of schools are going to be focused on bringing in equipment, laptops, mobile carts, and then again, internet access being a key part of our strategy. Mm-hmm. And I believe the governor, I know the lieutenant governor in our conversations is looking at their $12 million to see what they can do to shore up internet access out of the villages, out of the in the homes. So we're in active conversations with Lieutenant Governor, I know with UOG and GCC at the table as well.
Okay. All right. I think the AG too has jumped on. Sorry. Anyway.
Well, we do envision a meeting. I think the Lieutenant Governor is trying to arrange it with some of our telecom companies to get a better understanding of the access issues. I mean, that's not really in our area of expertise. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we can do our best to shore up the school so that maybe if everything works well, then we can open our campuses and provide access for students who want to be on campus in their vehicles to access Wi-Fi or in some other arrangement. But beyond the campuses, when we're talking about parts of the island where access is not as prevalent in our housing areas, where we might be able to see what we can do to alleviate the cost of internet access, those types of discussions, they have to involve our telecom providers and really understand what the right strategy would be.
Mm-hmm. Just for clarification, so you guys received $41.5 million, but you have to submit a plan, and then that plan has to be approved before the money is released.
Right.
What if they don't approve it?
I think that, obviously the feds are trying to push the money out. I just think that they want assurances as to how that money will be spent, because they understand that there are going to be a lot of governments going through revenue issues, right? So as part of this agreement, not only do we have to lay out a plan and priorities for using these funds, there are also the number of assurances regarding the accountability for the funds, who's going to be responsible for all the fixed assets that come through. There's also a maintenance of effort requirement that the government provide. I believe the language is the average of the last 3 years of appropriations. So they really are intending for these funds to supplement the local budget, not to replace
Right.
the local budget. So that's going to be a discussion that I guess we'll continue to have over the summer.
Yeah, and then
when
you
the
know,
budgets are-
what kind of local budget are we going to be looking at for you guys? Wow.
Right. I mean, I think what the feds are going to be looking at is, you know, if you've got 42 million and you're going to be putting it into technology and all these other, you know, protective equipment, and then we see that the local government cuts you by 40 million, we're going to have to, you know, intervene and you know, we don't know if those funds are going to be made available because they're not meant to give the government, you know, the local government the opportunity to just cut education funding.
Right.
Yeah.
They're trying to do what they can to shore up teaching and learning in this tough environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jana, for your time. Anything? Oh, I got a call from Mayor Rudy. He wants me to pump FB Leon Guerrero Grab-N-Go meals available. He says it's been kind of slow up there, and I don't know if we didn't get the word out good enough or.
Well, we're seeing some ebbs and flows. So I think as more, you know, this is the hard part. You know, what happens when on the day that commodities come out, right? Are parents now being forced to decide, do we go to the school or do we go to Teason? You know, that's the thing we got to sort through, and it's really tough because we're serving school meals every day, but we don't want the families to have to make those types of choices if they don't have to. But I think that's what's going on. We open up a commodity site, and parents are saying, instead of going to school meals, why don't we go get a bag of commodities that might last longer? And so we'll pay attention to those numbers. Let me also, if I could just thank, you know, today running this operation at Teason, really appreciated the assistance of the Lieutenant Governor and Department of Public Works and GPD to help us on this site, as well as I believe the mayors were there, but definitely I know Mayor Paco came out to help set tents up. I know we're in Barragata. I know that Mayor Blas is, you know, having to work with us on the traffic. So just want to extend the thanks to the community partners who you know, are working to help us get the food out there to our families.
Well, thank you too, and GDOE. So.
Right. Yeah. Good job, John.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay.
take
Wash
care.
your hands.
Good morning.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Superintendent John Fernandez. 9:04.